The discovery. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the edge of the excavation site, her dark eyes fixed on the strange metallic glint that had caught her attention. The three moons of Kepler 186 cast an ethereal light across the ancient ruins, their purple-tinged illumination revealing architectural patterns unlike anything previously documented in the galaxy. The wind whipped her short black hair as she adjusted her protective suit's environmental controls. Even after 3 years of working on this alien world, she hadn't quite gotten used to its slightly higher gravity and thin atmosphere. But as Earth's leading geoarchaeologist, she couldn't imagine being anywhere else. Dr. Chen called out Zrix, her Arthemian research assistant. The insectoid alien's mandibles clicked with excitement as they scuttled across the dig site. The quantum dating results are complete. These ruins are older than anything we've ever found. Sarah nodded, unsurprised. She'd suspected as much from the moment they'd discovered this site. How old exactly? At least 300 million years. Zrix's antennae twitched, their crystalline eyes reflecting the moonlight. That predates every known spacefaring civilization by at least 200 million years. Sarah's attention returned to the metallic glint she'd spotted earlier. Help me with this section, Zrix. There's something here we need to uncover. They worked together in comfortable silence, using sonic excavation tools to carefully remove layers of sediment. After an hour, Sarah's breath caught in her throat. There, embedded in the ancient stone, was a sword unlike anything she'd ever seen. Its blade appeared to be made of a material that somehow both absorbed and reflected light, creating an effect like liquid starlight. Strange symbols ran along its length, glowing with a faint blue luminescence that pulsed like a heartbeat. Fascinating. Zrix moved closer, scanning the artifact with their most sensitive instruments. The energy readings are off the charts, but I can't identify the power source. The material composition, it doesn't match anything in our database. Sarah reached for the sword's hilt, but Zrix's appendage shot out, stopping her. Dr. Chen, we should wait for the proper containment equipment. The energy signature is unlike anything we've encountered. She smiled at her cautious assistant. Sometimes, Zrix, archaeology requires a human touch. Her fingers wrapped around the hilt. Immediately, warmth spread up her arm, and the sword's pulsing glow intensified. The symbols along its length began to shift and change, as if responding to her touch. Impossible, Zrix whispered, their mandibles quivering. The energy readings are synchronizing with your biological patterns. Sarah pulled gently, and the sword slid free from the stone, as if it had been waiting for her all along. The moment it cleared its ancient resting place, the ground beneath their feet trembled, and lines of blue light began spreading across the ruins like circuits coming to life. Dr. Chen. Zrix's voice had taken on an odd tone. You should know. While you were focused on the excavation, I tried to lift the sword myself. I couldn't move it. Not even with my exoskeleton at maximum power. The Archaeological Council also sent representatives from 15 different species over the past week. None of them could affect it in any way. Sarah's mind raced with implications as she held the perfectly balanced weapon. You're saying, only you, a human, could lift it. Before she could respond, the sword's glow intensified, and Sarah gasped as images flooded her mind. She saw vast starships bearing markings similar to those on the sword's blade. She witnessed battles between forces wielding weapons that could reshape reality itself. Most surprisingly, she saw humans, or beings that looked remarkably like humans, at the center of it all. When the vision cleared, she found Zrix supporting her with 2 of their appendages. Are you all right? Your neural patterns spiked dramatically. I saw. Sarah struggled to find the words. I think I saw how this sword was used. And who used it? She looked at her assistant, excitement building in her voice. Zrix, I don't think humans evolved on Earth. At least, not originally. I think we're the descendants of something far older. The ground shook again, more violently this time. Around them, more ruins were lighting up, patterns of energy spreading like a web across the ancient city. In the distance, something massive was rising from beneath the surface. Dr. Chen. Zrix's crystalline eyes focused on something behind her. We have company. Sarah turned to see 3 ships breaking through the cloud cover, their designs bearing the unmistakable mark of the Galactic Archaeological Council's Enforcement Division. But these weren't the usual research vessels. These were warships. Her communication device crackled to life with a transmission. Dr. Sarah Chen, you are in possession of a Class Omega restricted artifact. Surrender it immediately, or we will be forced to take action. Sarah's grip tightened on the sword as its energy synchronized further with her own. Somehow, she knew that giving up this artifact would mean losing humanity's chance to discover its true heritage. The sword's glow pulsed in agreement, and in that moment, she made her choice. Zrix, she said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. How would you feel about making history? Her assistant's mandibles clicked in what she'd learned to recognize as laughter. Dr. Chen, I believe we already have. As the warships descended, Sarah raised the sword, acting on instinct as ancient knowledge flowed through her mind. The blade's glow intensified, and she felt power building within it, power that responded to her will, power that felt somehow familiar, like a legacy waiting to be reclaimed. The wind picked up around them, as energy crackled along the sword's length. Above, the enforcement ships charged their weapons, and deep beneath the surface of Kepler 186f, something ancient and powerful continued to awaken, called forth by the reunion of humanity with its forgotten inheritance. Sarah Chen, an archaeologist from Earth, stood ready to face whatever came next. For the first time in her life, she felt truly complete, as if she'd found a piece of herself she hadn't known was missing. The sword hummed in her grip, its power harmonizing with her very being, ready to help her uncover the truth about humanity's place among the stars. The awakening. The enforcement ship's weapons fire dissipated harmlessly against a shield of pure energy that had sprung from the sword, its protective field surrounding both Sarah and Zrix. The ancient weapon responded to her thoughts almost before she formed them, as if it had been designed specifically for human neural patterns. Impossible technology, Zrix observed, their crystalline eyes analyzing the energy field. The power requirements alone should be. We need to move, Sarah interrupted, watching as more ships appeared in the purple-tinged sky. Whatever's awakening beneath us, they're not going to let us stick around to study it. The ground trembled again, and sections of the ancient ruins began shifting, revealing hidden passages and chambers that had laid dormant for millions of years. Sarah felt a pull from the sword, guiding her toward one particular opening that had appeared in a nearby wall. This way, she said, trusting the weapon's guidance. Zrix followed without hesitation, their exoskeleton adjusting seamlessly to the uneven terrain. As they entered the passage, lights activated along its length, responding to their presence. The walls were covered in the same symbols that adorned the sword, but now Sarah found she could almost understand them. Almost. The Enforcement Division is deploying ground troops, Zrix reported, their sensory antennae twitching. And something else. Energy signatures I don't recognize. Another vision hit Sarah, stronger than before. She saw these same corridors filled with beings that looked human, wearing armor that seemed to merge with their bodies, carrying weapons that bent reality itself. She saw them sealing something away, something they feared might be discovered before the right time. Dr. Chen. Zrix's concerned voice brought her back to the present. Your neural patterns are fluctuating again. I'm okay, she assured them, though her head was spinning with the implications of what she'd seen. The sword, it's showing me things, teaching me. They reached a circular chamber deep within the complex. As they entered, a holographic display activated, filling the space with stars and galaxies. But the configurations were wrong, or rather, they were right, just not for the present era. This was the galaxy as it had existed 300 million years ago. By the first nest, Drix breathed, their scientific curiosity overwhelming their usual caution. This is a complete astronomical record from the time these ruins were active. Before Sarah could respond, heavy footsteps echoed from the corridor behind them. The enforcement division had caught up, but they weren't alone. Mixed among the standard troops were figures in black armor that seemed to absorb light, their designs unlike anything used by the Galactic Council. "Dr. Sarah Chen," a voice called out, its tone artificial and cold. "You have accessed restricted information. Surrender the artifact and submit to memory suppression." Sarah raised the sword, its energy field expanding to protect both her and Drix. "Who are you really? The Council doesn't employ shadow operatives." A figure stepped forward, its black armor more elaborate than the others. "We are the Preservers. We have maintained the galaxy's equilibrium for millions of years. Humanity is not ready for the power you have stumbled upon." "Ready?" Sarah felt anger rising within her, and the sword's glow intensified in response. "Who are you to decide what humanity is ready for?" The Preserver's helmet tilted slightly. "We have watched your species since you first emerged on Earth. You are violent, unpredictable, dangerous. The legacy you have found was hidden for a reason." Another vision struck Sarah, but this time she remained fully aware of her surroundings. She saw the truth. Earth hadn't been humanity's birthplace, but a sanctuary, a place where they could start over after something devastating, something that had forced them to seal away their own power. "You're wrong," Sarah said, understanding flowing through her. "Earth wasn't a prison or a test. It was a choice. Our ancestors chose to begin again, to evolve naturally rather than rely on their technology. But they left this legacy for us to find when we were ready to discover it on our own." The sword hummed in agreement, and suddenly Sarah knew exactly what to do. She raised the blade, channeling its energy not as a weapon, but as a key. The holographic display shifted, and the chamber's walls began to transform. "Dr. Chen," Drix's voice was filled with awe. "The ruins, they're reconstructing themselves." The ancient technology responded to the sword's power, walls flowing like liquid metal, reforming into their original configuration. The Preservers raised their weapons, but they were too late. A new doorway had appeared behind Sarah and Drix, leading deeper into the complex. "Come with us," Sarah offered, surprising herself. "Help us understand what was left here. This legacy doesn't have to be a weapon. It could be a bridge between species." The Preserver leader's response was to fire their weapon. The energy blast dissipated against the sword's protective field, but Sarah got the message. She backed toward the new doorway, Drix moving with her. "Your kind always chooses conflict," the Preserver said. "You prove our point." Sarah smiled sadly. "No, we choose freedom. The freedom to learn, to grow, to make our own mistakes and learn from them. That's what makes us human." With that, she plunged the sword into a receptacle that had appeared in the floor. Energy coursed through the chamber, and the doorway behind them blazed with light. The Preservers rushed forward, but a barrier of pure energy sprang up, holding them back. "Time to run," Sarah said, pulling the sword free. Drix needed no encouragement, their multiple legs carrying them swiftly through the doorway. Sarah followed, the sword guiding her movements. As they ran through the newly revealed corridors, Sarah felt more memories surfacing. Not just visions, but understanding. The sword wasn't just a weapon or a key. It was a proof, left behind to be found by humans who had evolved enough to reach the stars on their own. But what it was proof of, and why it had been left, those answers still lay ahead, somewhere in the depths of this ancient complex. Behind them, she could hear the Preservers in pursuit, their weapons' fire echoing off the walls. Above, the enforcement ships would be looking for ways to breach the ruins. "Dr. Chen," Drix called out as they ran. "What do we do now?" Sarah gripped the sword tighter, feeling its power synchronize even further with her own. Now we find out who we really are." The corridor ahead opened into darkness, but Sarah could see lights beginning to activate in response to their approach. Whatever waited in those depths, she knew it would change everything. Not just for humanity, but for every species in the galaxy. The sword pulsed in her grip, its glow steadying into a confident blue light. She had made the right choice, she was sure of it. Humanity's true heritage lay ahead, and she was ready to discover it, whatever the cost. The truth unveiled. The darkness ahead exploded into light as Sarah and Drix entered what appeared to be a vast control center. Holographic displays sprang to life around them, filling the circular chamber with images of stars, planets, and what appeared to be massive space-faring vessels of impossible design. The architecture, Drix observed, their crystalline eyes reflecting the dancing lights. It's responding to your presence, Dr. Chen. These systems have laid dormant for millions of years, yet they activate for you as if they were built yesterday. Sarah nodded, the sword in her hand pulsing in sync with the facility's awakening systems, because they were built for humans to use, or rather for us to reclaim when we were ready. A massive hologram materialized in the center of the chamber, showing a humanoid figure wearing ornate armor that seemed to flow like liquid metal. When it spoke, its voice resonated with authority that had somehow survived the ages. Authentication confirmed. Human genetic signature validated. Welcome, Descendant. I am Guardian Protocol Alpha, the custodian of this facility. The sounds of pursuit echoed from the corridor behind them, but energy fields automatically sealed the entrances. They were safe, for the moment. Why was all this hidden? Sarah asked, gesturing with the sword. Why make humanity forget everything and start over on Earth? The hologram's expression grew solemn. Because we had no choice. The enemies we faced could track our technology, our energy signatures. The only way to preserve humanity was to hide it in plain sight, to let it evolve again naturally on a world that showed no signs of advanced civilization. Images appeared around them, showing scenes from an ancient war. Sarah saw human ships wielding powers that defied physics, battling against vessels that seemed to be made of living darkness. The Void Hunters, the Guardian explained. They came from between realities, drawn to advanced civilizations like predators to prey. Humanity stood against them when no other species could. We were the guardians of this galaxy, protectors of younger races, but the cost of victory was nearly our extinction. Drix's antennae twitched with excitement. The Great Darkness. Every species has legends about it. A time when shadow beings nearly destroyed all life in the galaxy, but they were defeated by. Their voice trailed off as they looked at Sarah with new understanding. By my ancestors, Sarah finished, pieces falling into place. But if humanity won, why hide? Why not rebuild? Because the Void Hunters were not destroyed, merely banished. The Guardian's hologram grew darker. Our scientists predicted they would return. So we enacted the Great Regression. Most of humanity chose to be reborn on Earth, their technologies and memories sealed away. A small group remained as guardians, watching from the shadows, eventually becoming the preservers. Sarah breathed. They're human too. Corrupted by time and isolation, the Guardian confirmed. They forgot their true purpose was to protect humanity's legacy until it could be reclaimed, not to prevent that reclamation. The chamber shuddered as explosions rocked the facility. The preservers were trying to break through. The Void Hunters are returning. The Guardian's voice grew urgent. Our sensors detect tears in reality forming throughout the galaxy. The sword you carry is more than a weapon. It is a key to reawakening humanity's true power. But the choice must be yours. Will you reclaim your heritage and stand against the darkness once again? Sarah felt the weight of history pressing down on her. What about Earth? What about everything we've built as we are now? You need not abandon who you have become to reclaim who you were, the Guardian said softly. Indeed, it is because of who you have become, your curiosity, your resilience, your ability to form bonds with other species. It nodded toward Drix, that you are now ready for this power. Another explosion rocked the chamber, closer this time. The preservers were breaking through. Dr. Chen. Zhrix stepped forward, their usually methodical voice filled with emotion. I have studied countless civilizations, but none have ever achieved what humanity did. You protected the galaxy once before. Perhaps that is not just your history, but your destiny. The sword pulsed in Sarah's hand, and she felt a certainty fill her. Show me what I need to do. The guardian nodded, and a pedestal rose from the chamber's floor. Place the sword. It will interface with the facility's systems and begin the reawakening process. But be warned, the preservers will sense what you are doing. They will do anything to stop it. Sarah moved toward the pedestal, but paused. Why me? Why was I able to find and use the sword? Because you dared to question, to explore, to trust your instincts even when they defied conventional wisdom. The guardian smiled. In other words, because you are human in the truest sense. The chamber shook again. The preservers' weapons were breaking through the outer defenses. Sarah raised the sword, its glow now bright enough to illuminate the entire chamber. Zhrix, I understand if you want to leave. What's coming? It might be beyond anything we've imagined. Her assistant moved to stand beside her. Dr. Chen, I am a scientist. We are about to make the greatest discovery in galactic history. Try to keep me away. The sword's light pulsed brighter as Sarah stepped toward the pedestal. Around them, more systems were awakening, revealing banks of advanced technology that had waited millions of years for this moment. Through the facility's walls, she could hear the preservers getting closer. Above, their ships would be preparing for a final assault. And somewhere out in the darkness between stars, ancient enemies were stirring. But Sarah Chen, archaeologist from Earth, descendant of a civilization that had once protected the galaxy, was no longer afraid. The sword hummed in her hands, resonating with power that felt both ancient and new, familiar and extraordinary. The time had come to remember who they were, who they could be again. She raised the sword, ready to plunge it into the pedestal, ready to awaken humanity's true legacy, ready to face whatever came next. The fate of not just humanity, but the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. And in that moment, Sarah knew with absolute certainty that she was exactly where she needed to be. The awakening. The sword slid into the pedestal as if it had been crafted for this exact moment. Energy surged through the ancient facility, and Sarah felt power unlike anything she'd ever experienced flow through her body. The walls of the chamber transformed, becoming transparent and revealing the true scale of what lay hidden beneath the ruins. They stood at the heart of a vast complex that stretched for miles in every direction. Ships, weapons, and technology beyond imagination lay dormant, waiting to be awakened. But more than mere machines, Sarah could sense something else stirring. Knowledge, memories, the accumulated wisdom of a civilization that had once shepherded the galaxy. Multiple quantum signatures detecting throughout the facility. Zhrix reported, their crystalline eyes processing the overwhelming data. Energy readings are, Dr. Chen, this technology, it's rewriting its own fundamental structure to match current universal constants. It's evolving in real time. The Guardian's hologram expanded, filling the chamber with images of activation sequences spreading across the planet. The awakening has begun. Humanity's legacy will soon be accessible to all who carry your genetic markers. But first, you must survive what comes next. The chamber shuddered as the preservers finally breached the outer defenses. The doors exploded inward, and armored figures poured through, their weapons trained on Sarah and Zhrix. Remove the sword immediately, the preserver leader demanded, their voice distorted by their helmet. You have no idea what forces you're unleashing. You're wrong, Sarah replied, keeping her hand on the sword's hilt. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know who you are, who we are. You were supposed to protect this legacy until we were ready for it, not keep it hidden forever. The preserver leader removed their helmet, revealing a face that was unmistakably human, though altered by advanced cybernetics. We have watched humanity for millennia. You build weapons before shelters. You divide and fight among yourselves. You are not ready for this power. Look around you. Sarah gestured at Srix. We've learned to work with other species, to build alliances, to explore and discover rather than conquer. We've grown, evolved. The very fact that I'm standing here, that I found this place through scientific research rather than warfare, proves that. Energy crackled through the chamber as more systems activated. Through the transparent walls, Sarah could see massive ships beginning to power up, their ancient hulls gleaming as if they'd been forged yesterday. The Void Hunters are returning, she continued. You know this. They're breaking through reality even now. The galaxy needs humanity to remember who we were, who we can be again. She speaks truth. A new voice rang through the chamber. A figure of pure energy appeared. Another Guardian protocol, but different from the first. The Preservers have become that which they sought to prevent. A force that hoards power and knowledge out of fear. The Preserver leader raised their weapon, but Sarah could see uncertainty in their augmented eyes. The risks are necessary, Sarah finished. Look at what our ancestors built. Look at what they achieved. They didn't just fight the Void Hunters. They protected younger species, helped them develop, acted as guardians of life itself. That's the legacy you were meant to protect. The sword pulsed, and the facility's systems responded. Holographic displays showed the galaxy as it was now, with dozens of points lighting up across its spiral arms. Other facilities like this one, all awakening. Your ancestors knew this day would come. The Energy Guardian addressed the Preservers. They knew humanity would either prove itself worthy of its heritage or destroy itself trying. The fact that they reached the stars on their own, that they stand here now through curiosity and discovery rather than conquest, shows their worth. The chamber shuddered again, but this time not from weapons fire. Through the transparent walls, they could see the ground above splitting open as massive structures rose toward the surface. The ancient city was rebuilding itself. The Preserver leader lowered their weapons slowly. Even if you're right, controlling this power. We don't need to control it, Sarah interrupted. We need to understand it, to learn from it, to use it wisely. She looked at Srix. And we don't need to do it alone. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. The holographic displays shifted, showing a massive distortion forming in space near the planet's orbit. Void breach detected, the Guardian announced. The Hunters have sensed the awakening. They come. Through the facility's sensors, they watched as reality itself tore open. A massive vessel emerged, its surface seeming to shift between states of matter, defying the laws of physics. More tiers were forming behind it. If you want to stop me, do it now, Sarah told the Preservers. But if I'm right about humanity being ready for this power, then stand with us. Help us remember who we were, so we can face what's coming. The Preserver leader looked at the sword, still pulsing with energy where it joined with the pedestal. They looked at Srix, a member of a species that would have been considered primitive when humanity first ruled the stars, now standing as an equal. Finally, they looked at Sarah, who had discovered this place not through force but through scientific curiosity. Around them, the ancient facility continued to awaken. Ships were rising from their million-year slumber. Weapons of unimaginable power were charging. And above, humanity's ancient enemy was returning. The moment of choice had arrived, not just for Sarah, but for all of humanity. The legacy of their ancestors waited to be reclaimed. The question was, what would they do with it? The sword's glow intensified, as if sensing the weight of the moment. Through its connection to the facility, Sarah could feel the enormity of what was about to happen. They weren't just awakening weapons and ships, they were awakening the full potential of what humanity could be. The Void Hunter's ship moved closer, its impossible form distorting space around it. The time for debate was over. The time for action had come. Sarah gripped the sword tighter, feeling its power flow through her. So, she asked the Preservers, "Are you with us?" The legacy. The Preserver leader stepped forward, their cybernetic enhancements gleaming in the sword's pulsing light. For millennia, we watched. We waited. We feared. They looked at their fellow preservers. But we forgot what we were preserving this legacy for. Not to hide it forever, but to ensure it would be rediscovered when humanity was ready. They turned to Sarah. "We stand with you." The facility shuddered as another reality tear opened above. Through the transparent walls, they could see more Void Hunter ships emerging, their forms defying comprehension. Multiple breaches detected, Drix reported, their crystalline eyes processing data from the facility's sensors. The Void Hunter's biosignatures are unlike anything recorded in any known database. They're rewriting local physics just by existing. The Guardian's hologram expanded, showing the full scope of the awakening facility. All systems are operational. The legacy protocol awaits your command, Inheritor. Sarah felt knowledge flowing through her connection with the sword. Understanding of weapons that could reshape reality, ships that could fold space, armor that could adapt to any threat. But more importantly, she understood their true purpose. These aren't just weapons, she realized. This facility, this technology, it's all designed to protect, to nurture, to guide. Our ancestors weren't just warriors. They were guardians. The Void Hunter ships began their assault. Reality-warping energy lashed out at the planet, but ancient defense systems activated automatically. A shield of pure energy enveloped the atmosphere, its surface rippling like liquid starlight. Multiple facilities awakening worldwide, the Guardian announced. Sister installations across the galaxy reporting similar activity. The legacy network is re-establishing itself. Sarah turned to the preservers. "You know this technology. Help us use it properly." She looked at Drix. "And we need your insight, your species' perspective. This power isn't just humanity's responsibility anymore. We all share this galaxy." The chamber transformed around them, becoming a command center. Holographic controls sprang to life, responding to the presence of human DNA. The preservers moved to various stations, their cybernetic enhancements interfacing with the ancient systems. Void Hunter energy signatures are evolving, Drix warned. They're adapting to the shield frequency. That's how they nearly won last time, the preserver leader explained. They learn, adapt, become stronger with each encounter. Conventional weapons are useless. Then we don't fight conventionally, Sarah said, understanding flowing through her link with the sword. We fight smart. We fight together. She turned to the Guardian. "Show me the legacy protocol." The hologram shifted, revealing the true nature of humanity's ancient technology. It wasn't just about power, it was about connection. The ships, the weapons, even the sword itself, were designed to work in harmony not just with humans, but with all sentient life. Your ancestors understood that true strength comes from unity, the Guardian explained. The legacy protocol was designed to be shared, to enhance rather than override, to protect rather than dominate. Sarah gripped the sword tighter as another blast from the Void Hunters rocked the facility. "How do we activate it?" "You already have," the Guardian smiled. "From the moment you chose to trust, to work with others, to seek understanding rather than control. The protocol was never about the technology. It was about proving humanity had evolved beyond its primitive fears." Energy surged through the chamber as the sword's power reached its peak. Around them, the ancient facility systems fully activated. But something else was happening too. The energy wasn't just flowing through the human DNA present. It was adapting, responding to Drix's unique biology, integrating with the preserver's cybernetic enhancements. By the first nest, Drix breathed, their crystalline eyes wide. The technology. It's not just accepting us, it's evolving to work with us. The Void Hunters launched another assault, their reality-warping weapons tearing at the fabric of space-time. But this time, the facility's defenses responded differently. The shield energy shifted, incorporating patterns that matched Drix's species' natural crystalline structure, becoming stronger, more adaptive. This is what the legacy protocol truly is, Sarah realized. not just awakening humanity's past, but combining it with everything we've learned, everything we've become, everyone we've met. Through the facility sensors, they could see similar transformations happening at installations across the galaxy. Ancient human technology was awakening, but it wasn't remaining static. It was evolving, adapting, becoming something new as it interfaced with the various species that now called the galaxy home. The Void Hunters launched their final assault, their ships combining into a reality-bending mass that threatened to tear the planet apart. But Sarah was ready. She raised the sword, now glowing with energy that combined human legacy with the strength of 1,000 worlds. Together, she said, looking at her unlikely allies, a scientist from a species that had barely achieved spaceflight when humanity first ruled the stars, and warriors who had lost their way but found it again. They acted as one. The sword's power merged with the facility's systems, guided by Sarah's human intuition, enhanced by Zrix's analytical insight, and strengthened by the Preserver's ancient knowledge. Energy lanced out, not just from their location, but from awakened facilities across the galaxy. The Void Hunters' reality warping field meant a force that represented not just humanity's power, but the combined strength and wisdom of all sentient life. For a moment, space itself seemed to hold its breath. Then the Void Hunters' ship began to break apart, their matter-defying forms unable to maintain coherence against the unified force they faced. Reality tears sealed themselves as the Hunters were forced back into their own dimension. In the aftermath, Sarah stood in the chamber, the sword's glow now a steady, peaceful pulse. Through the facility's systems, she could sense similar scenes playing out across the galaxy. Humanity's legacy had been awakened, but it had become something more, something better. So, Zrix asked, their voice filled with wonder, what happens now? Sarah looked at the sword, then at her allies, human and alien, past and present, all part of something greater than themselves. Now we do what humanity was always meant to do. We protect, we guide, we explore. But this time, we do it together. The facility hummed with power, its ancient systems now evolved into something new. Above, the stars beckoned, not as a battlefield, but as a frontier filled with endless possibilities. Humanity had reclaimed its legacy, but in doing so, they had created something unprecedented, a future where no species had to face the darkness alone.